Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. Is my voice audible?
Hare Krishna Mataji, yes ma'am.
Hare Krishna. Welcome back to the third day of our Bhagavad Gita course, overview course of 18 days. And I'm so happy to have you all back again. And I'm really happy to be with you today. Today is Guru Purnima, as all of you know. I was just playing a wonderful video of Srila Prabhupada, which I think I'll play for you as soon as our session is over. But today is really an auspicious day, and I think we must all take this opportunity to kind of offer all our respects to all the gurus, all the mentors, all the coaches, all the teachers, who made us to become what we are today. And we are extremely grateful to Srila Prabhupada for making us part of this ISKCON community, and as well as spreading the awareness of Krishna and the great scriptures and the nectarian knowledge that is contained in these great scriptures. The knowledge that is here, has made a huge difference for me. I have been associated very closely with Bhagavad Gita, and it's all because of the grace and the kindness of Namanishta Das Prabhuji, who is the Shiksha Guru for very many of us who are actually doing the service for ISKCON on behalf of ISKCON Mangalore. I'm extremely, extremely grateful for him. So right away, I want to get into the Mangala Charana. And yesterday, some of you, I think, were present and some of you were gone when I actually showed you the place where all these written documents and books of Srila Prabhupada are kept. It's called vedabase.org or vedabase.io. In fact, I'm going to open that up today so that we can all read the Mangala Charana or chant the Mangala Charana together. Okay? So let me take you straight away to the Veda base. Where is Veda base? Okay, I think I have to pull it up. Just give me a minute. So do you all know, did any of you try going to Veda base after I showed you? This is how you go to Veda base. You did? Great. Super. So I'm just going to Veda base today because I want all of you to know from where I'm doing the Mangala Charana. It is available to all. Prabhupada has ensured, and the disciples of Prabhupada have ensured that all knowledge is available to everyone. So Hare Krishna. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. The translation is also available, so please do read the translation. Hey Krishna Karuna. Oh, and I will read this also today, to this again, all to our great spiritual masters and all the Vaishnavas. Vande aham Sri Guruho Sri Yukto Pada Kamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sada Vaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So now you know where this is. So take time to read the translation. It's really, really wonderful. and you will really appreciate it, because I can see all of you are really interested, highly interested, and that gives me a lot of joy, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Okay. So now we're going to start the third chapter. And before going to the third chapter, as always, I request you and I ask you, what is it that you carried away of chapter 2 yesterday? Hare Krishna. Anyone wants to attempt?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. I have 3 or 4 people. Come, everybody, come, one by one.
Mataji, may I start?
Yes, please.
So in previous days, yesterday we learned about Lord Krishna's answer to the questions, what the dilemma Arjuna was having on the battlefield.
Yeah.
The first one was, I will explain it point-wise, compassion. Secondly, there is no enjoyment, means he's not going to get entertained with that battle, because battle brings sorrow and sadness.
Okay.
And Arjuna told that it's a sin, because killing people, and there will be so many corpus.
Yeah.
And then he told that if he will attend that battle, or if he will be part of the Mahabharata, the battle Kurukshetra, so it will break the family tradition, and the women's and the children's will become orphan, and there will be no one to carry that
The family
process
traditions,
and the
basically.
rituals.
Yeah.
And the last one is indecision. He was in a state of dilemma.
Right.
That's it.
Thank you.
And answers, Lord Krishna told that you are a Kshatriya, and it's your first duty to perform your for what you are here at Kurukshetra, and there is nothing to be questioned. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Who wants to go next?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare
Nice
Krishna.
day.
Thank you.
Mataji, after Arjuna, he says all his doubts and everything, whatever he was coming on his mind. So he finally surrendered into Krishna. He told that he is not able to understand anything. So please guide me. I'm surrendering unto you. Then Krishna, he smiles. Then Krishna starts giving his first he mentioned that you are crying on the thing which you should not be. He also explained about his soul, that it cannot be destroyed, neither fire can burn it, neither water can those things. Then Krishna also says that says the direction, if you are winning in this war, then you'll enjoy the kingdom, and if you are dying, then you'll attend the heaven. And also Krishna says him about this we shouldn't get affected by this kind of, because these are like seasonal changes.
Wow.
One should not get affected by this kind of changes.
Super. Hare Krishna. I am really blessed to have you all with me as participants of this course. Excellent. Who wants to go next? There were 4 people I know. Who's the third person? Hare Krishna. Anybody else? Anyone else? Okay, thank you so much. I think it was a great summary, and you really made my job very easy. Definitely, yes, it was Arjuna's indecision which made us get this nectarian knowledge that is contained in chapter 2 called the summary of the Gita. Okay, and here the Lord touches upon 3 key aspects which forms the background, which forms the fundamental or the foundation, or is a key concepts that are there in the Bhagavad Gita. We have the Sankhya Yoga or the Jnana. The Jnana is all about the soul. We are souls and we are not the body. We are the souls, and the souls are completely, they move from one body to another, just as the way we change our dresses. The soul also moves from one body to another. The soul does not get affected by anything. And the Lord therefore pronounces that, each of us, carry, he says, we existed before, we are existing today, and we shall exist tomorrow. So therefore, he kind of brings in the concept of karma and how karma, carries carries us from one birth to another. And therefore, we need to be highly, highly, diligent about how we do and how we act, and as well as how we react to each of those actions of ours. Okay. And then he also touches upon, after touching on jnana, he touches about karma. And in karma, he says, how should the activities be done? The activities should be done in such a way that we are not doing it as the doers, but we do it without, having our doership, and as well as with absolute detachment, which is what is nishkama karma, which is we will read in detail in this chapter today. So he brings in nishkama karma. He tells Arjuna, go do your duty. Uttishta, you need to do your duty. You're a kshatriya, and your role is to do your duty. Not doing your duty will get you infamy. And if you do your duty, you will either win or you will lose. And in both of them, there is no loss. Okay, he says, Swalpamapi asya dharmasya. Right? He said there is no loss in each of us doing our duties. Not doing our duties is what will get us to infamy, and it will also not serve us any good. Right? And the third part of it, he talks about, he gives us the concept of sthita prajna. He gives us the buddhi yoga. The buddhi yoga is all about steadfastness in our determination. And how does that happen? So Arjuna asks about sthita prajna. I know I didn't cover it yesterday, so I'm going to cover it right away for you. So Arjuna asked this question: who is a sthita prajna? What is the meaning of sthita prajna? Sthita means steady, and prajna means wisdom. So Arjuna asks Krishna, how do we know that who is a person of steady wisdom? Okay, so Arjuna asks a very nice, tricky, the verse is very, very nice. So I will just read that verse out to you. So he says, let me read out that verse. It's a beautiful verse. It's verse number 54 from chapter 2. Let me go to that verse. So after the Lord spoke a lot about jnana and karma and buddhi, then Arjuna asks, Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha, samadhistasya keshava, sthita dihi kim prabhashata, kim asita vrajjita kim. So what does it all mean? Kim bhasha. He said, how does a man of steady wisdom speak? Kim bhasha. How does a sthita prajna, how does he, what, see, he asks, what are his general symptoms? Kim bhasha means, what are his general symptoms? Then he asks, how does he speak? Kim prabhashita. Then he says, Kim asita. How does he sit? And the fourth question he says is, Kim vrajjata. How does he walk? Now, it does not mean that here, when we go on the road, we say, oh, he's a sthita prajna and so is not a sthita prajna. Okay. How do you think we'll find who's a sthita prajna? How do you think we'll find out who's a man of steady wisdom? What do you think will be the symptoms of a person who is steady in his intellect and in his wisdom?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I think the person who is not affected by the change in emotions, or who is detached from all the things.
Excellent. I am really blessed, as I said. Yes. One who gives up all kinds of material desires. One who doesn't have any kind of attachment. And who's satisfied in the self. See, satisfaction and contentment does not mean you should not have aspiration. Aspiration will be there. Arjuna was highly aspirational, and he kind of aspired to be the best Kshatriya, and he became the best Kshatriya. He was the best of best Kshatriya of those days. So he was satisfied and content with everything that he had. And because, he was looking inwards, and he was looking for all the support that he would get from the God consciousness within him. Okay, so that is a symptom of a sthita prajna. So how does a sthita prajna respond to speech? He is someone who is not affected by any form of duality. He is equal in both happiness and in terms of distress. He is equal in Mama, please. He takes everything that comes his way in a balanced way. Okay, he's absolutely at peace with himself, with everything that he says. And how does a sthita prajna sit? The sthita prajna sitting means he's someone who knows how to withdraw the senses when he sees something that is not to be. That is not to be taken into account. He's someone who knows when to kind of, keep his senses away and when to really use his senses. And he uses the senses only for the purpose of spirituality. When I say spirituality, doing your work within the framework of the Vedic injunctions or the script, because the scriptures have clearly defined what each one should do in each of the varnashrama. Varna means division. Ashrama means the people living in each of those, groups. Okay, the Brahmana, the work of the Brahmana is that of knowledge, gaining knowledge and sharing knowledge. The Kshatriya is supposed to be an administrator. They are the kings, and they are the people who kind of help the society to lead a great life. And Vaishyas are the people who help in the economic development, so that there is a good deal of cycle of action that takes place that helps development of the society as a whole to prosper. And the Shudra Varna is not the way we describe Shudra these days. We say someone who does a job which is menial, which we think is a Shudra. No, a Shudra is one who supports all the other Varnas. We are all, in fact, if you ask me, some of us probably are born Brahmins, but we are actually not Brahmins. When you read the scriptures, you really know when we work for someone else, we are actually a Shudra. In fact, I don't know if I shared this with you yesterday or day before. Prabhupada was once lecturing. Today is Guru Purnima, and I would be, it would be right for me to bring this particular examples of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada was, I think, in one of the Western countries. I'm not sure if it was Australia or the UK. And, he was speaking to a group of students, young students. And he was talking about, the Varnashrama Dharma. When he spoke about Dharma is activity that behoves each of the Dharma that we are part of. What is Dharma? Dharma means the law of being. It is the nature of what we are. Okay, our nature describes our duties. For example, a dog barks, so that is the Dharma of the dog. The duty of a human life is to ensure that he carries out his prescribed duties well within the moral codes and is completely engaged in the work in such a way so that he is not getting attached, and he reduces the miseries that come out of attachment, and therefore gets onto the path of moksha or liberation, because life is all about punarapi janmam and punarapi maranam. And therefore our focus or our endeavor, it should be to kind of get away from the cycle of punarapi janmam and punarapi maranam and completely become a part and parcel of that eternal soul, the Satchidananda, who is the Mahavishnu. Okay, so Prabhupada was describing a lot of all these things and talking all these things to the students. And one boy who was sitting in the front, he just got up. He said, "Oh, so you have described all these things to us. So you think just because you are on the dais and sitting up there and you have read all these scriptures, you are a first-class Brahmin?" And Prabhupada's disciples were all there and they were completely shocked. I heard this as a narration by somebody else. But I heard this on Sunday when I was listening to, conversations of some of the great disciples of Prabhupada who are still there and who are still, passing on such knowledge to us and sharing all these incidents with us on Prabhupada. So all these disciples were aghast, and they were like, their blood was boiling because they had surrendered their lives to Prabhupada and they were completely on the path of spirituality and they had complete devotion and faith in Lord Krishna. They said, "What is this person asking? What kind of a question is this? How can they ask such a question to Prabhupada?" So Prabhupada just looked at that boy and he said, "You know what? I don't belong to any of these 4 classes." And there was rapt silence in that hall. They looked at each other. Prabhupada had tears in his eyes. He said, "I belong to the 5th class." He said, I am a messenger of Lord, and I'm here to serve all the other Varnashrama, all the people belonging to the other Varnashrama. See, the thing of spirituality comes out in your humility. What attracted people to our faith and to our dharma and, the kind of following that Prabhupada had was his the way he kind of, used this knowledge and lived this knowledge every day, every minute. You won't believe it. Every minute, every second, Prabhupada's disciples were absolutely with him. They were watching him and they were writing everything that they were seeing about him and everything that he was doing. So the real aspect of knowledge comes in the way we live our lives. If we don't kind of, implement, execute what we study, what we read, the jnana is of no use. Jnana just remains at the knowledge level. The knowledge, once realized, is wisdom. Okay, are you with me? Hare Krishna. So the sthita prajna is, you can see who's a sthita prajna by the words they use, the way they live, the way they behave, the way they kind of deal with situations as and when it comes. They never get hurt. They are neither on a high nor on a low. And the last one he said, the sthita prajna is one. He says, how does a sthita prajna walk? A sthita prajna is always walking or is doing things only to please Krishna. Everything that he does, whether he is in great business, whether he is, negotiating across the table, or whether he is a lawyer fighting on behalf of his client, for him, Krishna is the one who is always there. He always does everything to please Krishna. Okay, so those are the qualities of a sthita prajna. Someone who is steady and someone who practices the knowledge that they study. Okay, so today we start this chapter, Yoga of Action or Karma Yoga. Now this chapter is divided into 5 sections. The first section again is Arjuna is a bit confused. And why is he confused? Because, Lord in one place said, do your karma. Then in the last section, he says, no. You need to be steadfast in your determination. And he says, you need to kind of, steady your buddhi or your intellect. So Arjuna is confused again. So 3.1 and 3.2, we will see what is this confusion and what does Arjuna seek of Lord Krishna. In the next 6 verses, Lord talks about Nishkama Karma Yoga. And he says how Nishkama Karma Yoga is better than Jnana Yoga. Or rather, he does not say Jnana Yoga is bad, but he says he kind of gives a lot of impetus to Karma Yoga over the Jnana Yoga. Okay. Then in the subsequent 6 verses, he talks about Karma Kanda. We should move away from being ritualistic to becoming a karma yogi. Karma yogi means karma means action. We need to move away from just being ritualistic to doing karma, to doing our activities. And activities for whom? Activities to ensure that a union with the spiritual master happens sooner than later. Then he gives an elaborate description of Nishkama Karma, and he says why we need to do our jobs the way we do, because we need to set an example. He has already said that before in chapter 2, and he's going to describe this further with more examples. Then last but not the least, he is going to talk about how we need to overcome lust or kama or desire or attachment, which he says is the greatest enemy. So this is what is contained in this chapter, and we will delve into it right away. So before that, if you remember, in the previous chapter, though I think I read it out for you yesterday, this was not there as a part of the slide. So this is 47, 2.47. The Lord said, Karmanyeva adhikar. This is a very popular shloka. I'm sure most of you have heard it. Karmanyeva adhikareste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbur ma te sango astava karmani. Can someone read the translation? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty.
Yeah. So this verse is so self-explanatory. We cannot, we have to do the prescribed duties, each of us, based on our talents, based on our qualities, based on our character, based on the attributes and the qualities that we have, based on our competencies and skills that we possess. We have to do our duties. But the second line, if you see, never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities. Can anyone tell me why this is so?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Babani.
Mataji, like can I quote an example?
Yes, please.
See, like Mataji, like if a student is preparing for an examination, so he shouldn't think about the result, because if he has given the examination and if you continuously think of what will happen, will he get an distinction or will he fail? Then if he or she thinks about this, he will continuously get anxieties, or he or she cannot properly focus on doing the action, whatever he or she wants to do, and
Right.
end up in doing blunder.
Okay, that's at a practical level. But if you have to, elevate yourself to the spiritual level, how would you look at it? Anybody? Elevate yourself a little above the normal plane that you're in. See, the consciousness that we're talking about is the soul. If the soul were not to be there within us, we will not have our consciousness. The body without the consciousness is dead matter. We are what we are because of our soul, because of our consciousness. If the consciousness were not to exist, we don't exist. And this consciousness is the eternal part of the Supreme Atma, the Vibhu Atma, who is the Supreme Lord himself. Remember yesterday we said the soul is 1/10,000th part of the tip of the hair, and it is an eternal fragment of the Supreme Lord. It is his energy. We are all part and parcel of his energy. So when we are an energy of the energetic, where are we the doers? Are we the doers? We get electricity in our house. Where does the electricity come from? Where does the electricity that lights the lamps in our house comes from? It is an energy that comes into our house. Correct? So where did this electric energy come from? Hare Krishna, I'm sure a lot of you must be engineering or science students here. Where does this electricity come from?
Power station.
From the power station. So similarly, can we then say we are the power station? We all have power stations at home? Yeah? Hare Krishna?
If solar energy is there, then some kind of...
Huh?
If we use solar panels, then we could like...
Solar panel, where does the solar panel is there in your house? But how does the solar panel, how do the cells in the solar panel get activated? The sun. And where does the sun come from? It is from that Super Lord. Okay. So therefore, when nothing belongs to us, when we think we are the doers, and that's where all the problem. That is the aham, the ahankaram, I. When we replace the I with the Lord, all our problems, all the miseries of our life will vanish away. It is tough because we are all conditioned souls. We are all conditioned by delusion. We are conditioned by the illusion of Maya. So it is very tough. Understand the principle and keep meditating and keep thinking, keep contemplating about every action that you do and the results of those actions. Every time you do an action, when you do it with Krishna in your heart, that action will not affect you. When I say that action will not affect you, the goodness that come out of the action will not affect you. Neither will the thing that is not so good about the action also affect you. When I'm talking about action here, action within the prescribed moral codes, not immoral activities. Krishna is not responsible for our immoral act. You are at will to carry out your immoral activities, but don't blame Krishna for the effects of those immoral activities. Okay. Now, here is a guy. He has sowed a little seed. The seed is slowly germinated. It is growing. It is, it has become a sapling. It's growing into a small plant. It's grown into a tree. The tree is now started flowering, and this tree is also giving fruits. Now, what do you think this person will think? This person will think that I also love, gardening, and I also, have planted a lot of trees. When the trees all flowered and they started giving fruits, I went about telling everybody, oh, you know what, I planted, I got these fruits. This was when I was a little girl. And now when I read all this, I find, oh my God, nothing really belongs to us. Why? Because The tree will not grow if there's no proper soil conditions. Where do the soil conditions come from? Who has enabled the soil condition? It is the Supreme Atma. The tree also needs a lot of sunlight. The sunlight comes from where? Comes from the sun. Where does the sun come from? It's today in the morning. I was looking at a news clip from NDTV where they were showing about the various the planets or in the cosmos. They were so elated and so excited. They said, "Oh, this telescope can really see a number of these things." They were so excited. Little do they know that billions and billions of years ago, when our Vedic scriptures were written, all these are contained in our Vedic scriptures. There is something called Vedic cosmology. If any of you are good in science and can understand that language, please pick up that book. It's available on Amazon, and also ISKCON centers offer these courses on Vedic cosmology. And Mayapur is also coming out with a Vedic planetarium. Okay. So the sun, the rain, everything, where does it all come from? Where does the seed come from? Think about it. Where does the seed come from? It is a chicken and egg story. Who came first, the chicken or the egg? The seed or the fruit? The fruit came, you'll say, oh, the seed came from the fruit. How did the fruit, okay, and then you will say the seed, the fruit came from the seed and the seed came from the fruit. But where did the origin, who is the origin of that seed? So these are things that you need to keep thinking about. These are simple examples, but this is something I want you to think. So now, this opening of this chapter, Arjuna said, Jayasi chet karmanaste matha buddhir janardana tat kim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava. Can someone read this translation? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes, read.
Arjuna said, O Janardana, O Kesava, why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work?
Yeah. So he says, if it is better for me to, build my intelligence, I might as well do that, because I'm already, I've already gone through a lot of courses, I have gone to the Gurukula and I know all the Vedic scriptures and I've used all these Vedic scriptures to get a lot of siddhis and yuktis. So, when I know when my intellect is, quite strong, let me go and strengthen it further. Why are you asking me to do this fruitive work? Why are you asking me to do this, get into this warfare? And why does he say that is what we will see in this particular verse. He says, Vyamishreneva vakyena buddhim mohaya shivami tat ekam vada nishchitya yena shreyo aham apnuyam. Can someone read this translation?
Hare Krishna. My intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial for me.
Yeah, so he says, I am completely bewildered by your equivocal. You're confused me completely. Your statements are ambiguous. You spoke about in the previous chapter, you said jnana. Okay, I agree, jnana. I know, I've understood who I am. Fine. You talked about karma. You said all of us have to do our duty. Then you said we also need to kind of strengthen our intellect. Now I'm confused. Please tell me, what should I do? Which is most beneficial? He said, Ekam Vada. Tell me exactly, precisely, decisively, which will be most beneficial to me. Okay. This way or that way or which way? I'm confused. Hey, Janardana, he says. Okay. So he says, Ekam Vada. So, the Lord in 2.11 to 2.3 spoke about, the soul. He says, we are all souls. We are not the body. The body keeps changing. Based on the karma that the soul carries. Then towards the end, he also spoke about saying that anything that we do, as long as we do, he spoke about duties. He said all of us have to perform our duties. There's no way that we can escape our duties. And finally, he also said that we need to have a steady intellect, because only that will help us to kind of stay on the course, on the path of liberation. Okay. So he says, I'm confused. Then he says, Nahi kaschit kshanam api. This is the Lord is speaking now. Okay. Nahi kaschit kshanam api jatu tistati akarmata karyata hi avasaha karma sarvaha prakriti gair gunaihi. Can someone read this translation?
All men are forced to act helplessly according to the impulses born of the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment.
Exactly. So the Lord says, look, there are two classes of people. One class of men who attain the path of liberation, who get onto the path of liberation by jnana, which is fine. The second class of people are people who do their karma, who do their activities. By doing their activities, focused on the Lord and not having attachment to those activities, also reach the Supreme Brahman. Okay. But he says, I prefer people who do their work diligently and, without any attachment to the work that they are doing, and who are equipoised and equanimous in every action of theirs. He says, such people is whom I prefer. Okay. Therefore, he says, every person, whether you are a person who seeks jnana, whether you are on the jnana platform, or you are on the karma platform, all of us have to act. We cannot escape not doing action. Action is inevitable, is innate to all of us. And it stems from the impulses that all of us carry, which come from the modes of nature. What are these modes of nature? Predominantly, all of us are composites of three gunas. The gunas are the guna of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. The guna of ignorance, mode of goodness is someone who is associated with knowledge, like a brahmana. When I say brahmana here, don't go by the sect brahmana. You go by the classification of brahmana as per the skills and abilities and our nature. Okay. The nature will decide whether we are a brahmana or something else. So please remember here, I'm sticking to the Vedic injunction of the brahmana definition. And typically a Kshatriya and a Vaishya are in the mode of passion, because they are someone who are highly chivalrous, and they have the fire in the belly. They want to keep doing something. They like to get name and fame and things like that. The last class of people are the Shudras, who are completely, Shudra means, again, not someone who we classify as Shudra. Shudra is someone typically who are in the mode of ignorance. Neither knowledge is there in them, or you have to teach them what to do, then they will do. Okay. Or some of them may not do anything also. These are people who are indolent and lethargic in general. Okay. So the way we act depends on the gunas, the way the gunas are composed in us. Please understand, each of these gunas are present in all of us. What is present more in each of us defines whether we are predominantly in the mode of goodness, or in the mode of rajasic, or in the mode of passion or tamagun. Okay. So irrespective of whether you are in any of these classifications, all of us have to do the work. What kind of work? There are 4 types of work. One is nitya karma. All of us have certain basic duties. You have to get up to drink, eat. Even a person who's lethargic also has to get up at some point in time in the day, get up and go and eat and evacuate and stuff like that, right? So nitya karma. All of us have basic duties too. Then niyamitika karma. Naimitika karma means karma or activities which are important, which have to be done. These are auspicious karma and inauspicious. When I say auspicious is like birth, your graha pravesham, marriages. Inauspicious things would be things like death and dealing with sorrow and stuff like that. Then we also have kamya karma. What is kamya karma? Kamya karma, that's such karma where there is a desire. I pray to the Lord with some objective. These are kamya karmis. These are people who are karmis, who do things because they want to get something. So these are the 3 activities that all of us have to do, irrespective of what categorization or what kind of mode of nature we have in us that is predominant in us. Okay. So now the Lord says, it is imperative for all of us to do our duties. Karmendriyani samyamya yayaste manasasmaran indriyartan vimudatma mityachara sayuchyate. One who restrains the senses of action. Suppose, if Arjuna doesn't want to fight now, he wants to go away. He says, okay, now you're confusing me. I don't want to fight. I might as well not do this. I will probably, renunciate. I'll become a renunciate. I'll take up sannyas. So the Lord says, each of us are predominantly, have these certain characteristics in us. And these characteristics are always predominant. If you send a Brahmana to the border, to the national border to fight, he will be a thorough failure, because for him, what he knows the best is knowledge, and to spread the knowledge is what his role is. Spread the awareness of knowledge is what he can do best. And similarly, a Kshatriya can't become a Brahmana. A Kshatriya can't become a Shudra, because inimically he is someone who has the aspiration to protect and serve the people, right? So here we find a lot of people today, it's fancy to say I've taken sannyas. There are very many people who take sannyas, and what is it? The innate habits and their character doesn't go away. So here is a photograph of a sannyasi. You will find many of them, when you go to certain parts, where all these people stay. They are, smoking, they are indulging in all kind of activities, because they are not true sannyasis. They have not been able to come out of the basic characteristics that they have in them. Okay, so therefore, we need to wait for the right time to give up certain things. In the Grihastha Ashrama, do your work as a Grihastha, and once you're ready for it, take your Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. Or if you are completely someone who's very sure that you have no desires, then straight away jump to Sannyasa. So sannyasa is meant for only those people who have no material desires. Okay. Now can somebody read this? 3.7. Hare Krishna. Anyone wants to read? Okay. On the other hand,
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, read Prabhuji.
On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior.
Exactly. So therefore, whatever we do it for the sake of the supreme energetic who is there, who's part of us, who's always present in us as the super Atma. When we do things for him, that means we automatically are giving up everything to him. When we give up everything for the sake of the Lord, there's no attachment. So when there is no desires, we are safe, because we stay neutral. That automatically gives us satisfaction and contentment. So this is a picture of the Rath Yatra. I'm sure you all know the Rath Yatra just concluded I think it just started last week. And this is the Maharaja of Odisha. They have the tradition. They become absolutely humble. They continuously sweep the road in which the Ratha goes. This was in those days, but I don't think these days they're doing it. They just kind of sweep the space around the Ratha, and I didn't see them doing anything more. But whatever it is, we need to completely become humble. We need to really know ourselves as a dry grass. Prabhupada says the humility will come to us only when we are completely in the good faith, and we have that nishtha. Nishtha means faith. When we have faith, automatically we'll develop ruchi for bhakti. Okay. So next he says, Niyatam kuru karma tvam karma jyayo hi akarmanaha shariraha ayatra pichate na prasidyat akarmanaha. Perform your prescribed duty, for action is better than inaction. A man cannot even maintain his physical body without work. Everyone, he says, look, work is an imperative thing. You cannot escape work. All of us have to do the work that our basic character accords to. Okay. So work done for sacrifice of Vishnu has to be performed. Whatever you need to do, whatever is your basic character, you need to do that work. Otherwise, work causes. You need to do the work, and how should you do the work? Without attachment. When I say without attachment, this verse defines it. It says, when work is done as a sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord, work causes when work is not done for the satisfaction of the Lord, the work causes bondage. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duty for his satisfaction, not for your satisfaction. When you do it for the satisfaction of the Lord, automatically you derive contentment. And when work is done for the satisfaction of the Lord, you will always remain free from bondage. You will be free from the three miseries of conditioned souls, which is Kama, Krodha, and Bhaya. Kama is desires, Krodha is anger, and Bhaya is fear. Okay. He says, Yatna sistasna santo muchyante sarva kil vishaihi bhujante tva agam papa ye pachyanti atma karana. the translation. Somebody wants to read the translation? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin.
Exactly. So you know what? This is what Nishkama Karma Yoga is all about. Here, Lord is describing about Nishkama Karma. He said, whatever you do it for the satisfaction of the Lord. Then you will not have attachment. The moment you have attachment to anything that you do, you immediately, invariably become attached and bonded to things. And this kind of bondage is what leads or adds to your karma, which gets carried out to your next birth. Okay, we need to understand. You may wonder, how is it the soul is eternal, and how is it that we carry our past with us? See, the subtle body in us, there are 3 layers in every body. One is the gross body. Gross body is the material body that we have. The mind, intellect, and ego are the subtle elements. Okay, now the soul goes by what the intellect and the mind aspires for. So whatever the mind and the intellect, the dirt that we collect in the intellect and in the mind affects the soul. So that's how these are called vasanas. These vasanas are always constantly, attached to the soul. And that's how you'll find, each one of us who we are today is not because of is not because of, is not out of context. It is highly contextual. Now, let me give you an example. In a family which probably for generations had no singers, suddenly you will find there is one person who is absolutely a great singer. How do you think that would have happened? And in a family who probably never had any administrative skills at all, even probably they wouldn't have known what administration means. Suddenly there develops a king, a prime minister, a president from that kind of a family. These are all our past karma. Our karma always follows us. And therefore, what we do now is prarabdha karma. What we carried from the previous is called sanchita karma. So the sanchita karma is always with us, which is what brings us to who we are today. And that karma makes us behave in a certain way. Our character, therefore, we are all different. Please understand. Each of us are different and unique because of our various past karma. Never ever compare yourself with respect to, wealth or health or education or knowledge with another person, because each of us are carrying our own bags and the contents of our bags are very different. They are not the same. So never ever get into the comparison mode at all, because comparison will actually get you to misery. You don't want that. Never get there. Okay. So therefore here this verse says, whatever we do, we must do it for the Lord and we must be grateful. That's what it says. We must be grateful. If you're not grateful to what you receive, you are a great fool. Okay. Now this is described, he describes it with a metaphor here. Okay. This is annad bhavati bhutani parjanyat anna sambhavaha yagnad bhavati parjanyo yagnaha karma samudbhavaha. All living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from the rain. Rains are produced by performance of yagna, and yagna is born from the prescribed duties. Right? So, what this means is, we are all part of the cosmic wheel of action. What is the wheel of action? Whatever we derive is, are all from that supreme Brahman. The Prakriti, the nature we have around us, whether you look at the earth, we have several minerals and, metals and natural resources that is there. Where did they all come from? They were given to us by the Lord. You have so many things that helps to feed you, the plants and some people who are non-vegetarians, whatever, where did they all come from? They were all things that were planted by the Lord for the sake of the living entities. So there is a lovely schematic diagram for that. I will go through that for you. So therefore, each of us have to perform the duties. Only when we perform the duties will this cosmic wheel of action continuously be in function. If we do not do our duties and we keep everything if we hoard, for example, today, we all hoard a lot of things for ourselves. Hoarding is absolutely, a no-no as per the scriptures. You The scriptures prescribe simple living and high thinking. You keep what you want. You keep what you want. You use what you want. Whatever is in excess, you need to share. Sharing is all about solidarity. Sharing is all about being sensitive to every living entity that also is on this level playing field, on this playing, on this ground of Prakriti, which actually is equally distributed to all of us. See, Prakriti is not discriminating any of us. It is us as living entities, we are hoarding, what we want of the Prakriti for our own selfish needs and deeds. So the Lord says, regulated activities are prescribed. Whatever we must do it in a regulated way. And the Vedas are directly manifested. See, the knowledge that we are reading today have been directly given to us by the Lord billions and billions of years ago. It's not something that was written recently. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated. Therefore, in every act of us, the Lord Paramatma is present. We need to remember, if today we have a shelter, the raw material for this shelter has come from that earth that the Lord has provided us. If there is air that we are breathing, that air in the form of Vayu is a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. If there is water which is required for our basic sustenance, where does that come from? That is again Varuna, who's again part and parcel of the Lord. Everything that is around us is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And therefore that gratefulness needs to be an integral part of our day-to-day lives. When you are grateful, you will automatically exhibit that in every action of yours. Grateful to what? Grateful for all that you have, and grateful to ensure that you're also supporting people who are not as fortunate as you are. That's what some of these verses are simply going to tell us. Don't hoard. Leave things for others as well. Today we have the habit of hoarding for generations. No, we don't know when our lives will end. So therefore, keep as much as you need. It's not that you should not, does not mean that you should not save. Save, of course, do the saving. Keep something for your children. Doesn't mean you keep for eternity, because eternity is not yours. So he says, my dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice established by the Vedas certainly leads a life full of sin. You're definitely being absolutely petty, and that adds up to your karma. And living only for the satisfaction of the senses, such a person, his life is absolutely a wasted life. So this is the schema. The Lord has given us the knowledge. This knowledge is not, as I said, this knowledge is ancient, and this knowledge is ever relevant. Okay. Now the duties are prescribed in the Vedas, and each of us have to do our duties. And sacrifice means activities related to our duties, and also to ensure that we are passing on the benefits that we receive from doing our duties to a larger scope of things. So indirectly, in this picture, you see there is a person, we are talking about, agriculture. When people engage in agriculture, it results in a lot of, you need to sacrifice, or you need to, give these the fruits of these activities, as a sacrifice to the various gods of nature who provide us with this nature. And that helps us to kind of more prosperity, because yagna, in those days they used to do a lot of yagnas. Yagnas would lead to rains, and rains would give more prosperity, or grains would come out of the activity of rain. And with rain, with grains, we make our prasadam. So what it really means is each of us have to do our duties. And when we do our duties, there are certain results that come out of those duties. The results of those duties, we need to understand, is a blessing. And we must actually give a portion of it back. We must plow it back to the society from where we get it. If you are in a profession, medical profession, so a whole lot of people made you to becoming what you are. So engage in a job which gives you good salary. At the same time, also do things for people who are less fortunate. Do it in the form of educating people who want to get into the medical profession, or help people who are not as fortunate as others are, who come to you, who pay money. Also do some free service. It is only by doing that will you be able to ensure the cycle, the wheel of life is absolutely works in a seamless manner. Okay. So this is Nishkama Karma. Okay. So what is Yagna in the Kali Yuga? Yagna in the Kali Yuga is to ensure that we are completely steadfast on the path of our faith, and the chanting of the Maha Mantra, that Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, will help us to keep our mind away from all kinds of distractions, because our distractions are far too many for us these days. The only way we can keep ourselves from these distractions is ensuring that we read these rich scriptures and take the knowledge that comes from these scriptures and live the knowledge that we get, live the knowledge that we gain from these scriptures. Okay. So can someone read this translation? Hare Krishna 3.19.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment, one attains the supreme.
Yeah. So in the earlier verses, you saw the Lord talking about, that each of us have to perform our duties, which is and we have to do our rituals. We also need to be grateful. Those are the rituals that we need to perform, right? We need to be grateful to all those various functionaries of the Lord who give us the bountiful things that they give us. Okay. But now he's moving a step forward. He says, do your duties, but at the same time, be detached. Whatever you do, be detached. Don't engage in attachment, because attachment will lead to bondage. Okay. Whatever you do it for the pleasure of Krishna. Can someone read this translation? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Even kings like Janaka and others attained the perfectional stage by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So here he says, Karmaneva hi samsiddhim astita janakadayaha loka sangraham ivapi sampasyan kartum arhasi. He says, look, even the learned sages, even those who are jnanis, he's again answering the question of Arjuna. He said, is jnana better or karma better? He says, even the jnanis, Janaka, who is the father of Mata Sita, he was a great sage, and yet he is also known as a great administrator, and he was a king, he was a father, he was a great husband. He did the Swayamvara for all his daughters. He gave Mata Sita, in marriage to Lord Ram in the Treta Yuga. So he says even Janaka had to do the job. It's not that a jnani can stay away from doing his job. If a jnani, I can be a jnani being a Kshatriya as well. I can be a jnani being a Vaishya as well. I can be a jnani being a Shudra as well. So being a jnani does not give me the excuse of not doing my work. And he gives the example of Janaka. And in the next verse, he gives his own example as well. Okay. Can someone read this translation?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Whatever action is performed by a great man, common man follow in his footsteps. And whatever stands he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues.
Yes. Yad acharati sheshtaha tat eva taro janah sayat pramanam kurute lokas tat anuvartate. So therefore, if particularly if a jnani or anyone who's a karma yogi, he is someone of importance. He has to do his duty and lead the way for others to follow. Because if as a leader, if you do not do what you preach, it is going to set a bad example. Therefore, as a leader, whether it is a king or a person who's a CEO or a manager, the father, the teacher, the professor, the guru, they need to really set up a stellar example so that the people who are who are looking at them are able to follow their footsteps diligently. Now, if the leader, the father, the mother, the parent, the manager, or the CEO of a company, the prime minister, the chief ministers, they don't do what they are supposed to do, they're really setting up a bad example. You will often find in government offices, they say, oh, bribe is a common thing. Why bribe is a common thing? Because, everybody in the system bribes and everybody in the system takes bribe. That's not the attitude. So therefore, the people who are in positions of importance, who are positions of power, have a great role to play. They need to be a great role model. O son of Pratha, there is no work prescribed for me. Now he's talking about himself in verse 3.22. He said, there's no work prescribed for me. Why? Because he is the Prajapati. He says, I am the person who has created everything. There's no work prescribed for me. But yet, I will do my work, because if I stop doing, the entire cosmos will stop functioning. He says, oh son of Pratha, there is no work prescribed for me within all these three planetary systems. That is the higher planets, the earth planet, and the lower planets. Nor am I in want of anything. Why does the Lord? He is Nirguna, he is completely a Vairagya, he has everything, he doesn't need anything. Nor do I need to obtain. There's nothing more that he wants. Yet I am engaged at work. Okay, so he gives us two examples. He said everybody has to do their duties. He gives the examples of Janaka and he gives his own example. Okay, and this also sets the tone for the next chapter, where he's going to give the jnana about who he is. Okay. Okay, can someone read this translation?
So as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant man attached to the fruitive result of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness.
So what the Lord says is, don't force anybody. I might have the jnana, I have read the scripture, so I know what is what. I have the confidential knowledge of matter and spirit. So, I will work. You make a decision for yourself. You work with detachment. Now, if somebody else is not working, don't force them, he says. It's okay. Let them work the way they want. But he also says in the next verse, he says, by looking at you and looking at your composure, looking at the way you are able to deal with situation, they will automatically follow you. They will also come and ask you, hey, how is it that you're able to manage things this way? At that time, you will give them the knowledge that you have got from the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Okay, isn't this beautiful? The Lord is so kind. He says, don't force anybody. The Lord doesn't force anybody. You want him, we want him. He is not forcing you to he's not forcing you to come to him. He's happy, he's waiting for you to come to him. But at the same time, he doesn't force you. He says, okay, you follow, you wanted this. I have given you this body because this was your desire. You have got this body. Each of the living entities of the body that they get is because of the desires that they hold. So he has given that body. He's also created the Prakriti. He's also given you all the gunas. He said, it's up to you to choose. Now, the only person who can choose the right way is the human body. The human intellect is the only one who can make the right choices. So therefore, today we are in a situation where we are able to gain this knowledge. So it's up to us to make sure that we kind of do it. We do the things in the right way. So the spirit soul bewildered by the influence of false ego. What is false ego? False ego means I. That ahankaram is false ego. Everyone has an ego. But the moment that ego thinks that he is the doer, that becomes ahankaram. That is false ego. Can someone read this 3.27? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah.
The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are actually carried out by the three modes of material nature.
Exactly. So we are all delusioned. We are completely illusioned by Maya, and we think because of Maya, we think we are the doers, and we don't realize the real purpose, which is there before us, is to get liberation. Okay. So Arjuna Uvacha, Arjuna says, okay, now I understood all this. I understood what you said. You said, okay, fine. We should not be ritualistic. We need to do our prescribed duties. And when we do our prescribed duties, we need to do it in such a way that we don't take credit for it, that we need to always think that I'm not the doer. we are doing things because of the support we have from the Supreme Lord. All that is fine. Now tell me, Atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anicham api varshneya balad iva niyojitaha. Can someone read this translation? Hare Krishna. Anybody wants to read?
Arjuna said,
Hmm.
O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force?
So he's asking, what is it that makes us commit a sin? Can you see all that in the steps that we have put for you? There is envy. There is all this is leading up to something else. Just read it. You know it already. Why do you think we commit sins? What is a fundamental element that provokes us to doing abominable acts or things that are immoral? Can you tell me from this picture? Why do we do what we do? Why do we have this ahankara? Why do we have this ego? Why do we have this puffed up ego in all of us?
It's all because of attachments, Mataji.
Very good. When you are
Because
attached,
everything is originating from attachments.
absolutely. Pride comes from attachment. When your desires get fulfilled, you get exceedingly proud, and pride leads to greed. The more you want, the more you enjoy. The more you enjoy, the level of pride, you want more of it. So there's greed, and also you develop false prestige. It's called false because it's not real prestige, because it's false, because it's not you. You are nothing in this entire cosmos, in this cosmos. And it also leads to anger. When your pride or when your greed does not get fulfilled, it leads to anger, and anger leads to ignorance. We saw that yesterday. It leads to delusionment. Your intellect completely goes for a toss. Your intellect completely becomes blank, and all kinds of other things come. Lust is, it's also, sensual desires. Your desires only multiply, and you also start getting envious. You become jealous of everything around you. So much so, sometimes people also get jealous of their own family members, which is what we saw in the case of the Mahabharata. Dhritarashtra is jealous of his own brother's children, right? Very good, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So the Bhagavan answers, Kama yesha krodha yesha rajoguna samudbhavaha mahasano mahapapam vidiyenam iha vairninam. The blessed Lord said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born in contact with the material modes of passion, and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. So be careful. Okay, so he gives an example. Now, what are these, how does lust, how do you, define lust? And how easy is it for us to kind of, get away from the sense of attachment? He gives us 3 examples. He says, Dhumrena vriter vahinir yatha darsho malena cha yatol bena vritto garbas tata tenedam avritam. There's a translation. Can somebody read this translation? Hare Krishna. It's a beautiful one.
As fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, similarly, the living entity is covered by different degrees of this lust.
So look at the beautiful example. See, Bhagavad Gita has a lot of metaphors. Even if anything else we forget, I think these metaphors will remain in our minds forever. So he says, just as the way the fire is covered by, sometimes lust or attachment or our desires are just like the smoke. When there is a wind, the smoke goes away. So it is something very small which we can overcome. Typically, these are people in the mode of goodness. It's very simple, easy for them. They do that self-realization, self-inquiry, and then they know where they are wrong, and quickly they kind of try to correct. These are habits, okay? So they quickly try to correct themselves. Then there is another form of lust which is a little more deeply, entrenched in you. What is that? It is like the dust in the mirror. When there is deep dust in the mirror, you have to clean it a couple of times. So it takes a little bit of a time for you to kind of overcome those forms of attachments or those forms of desires. It's very simple. The earlier one is very simple. This one takes a little longer time, but you will still be able to overcome. The third form is that like an embryo in the womb. It is stuck in the embryo, depending on what kind of an embryo we're talking here. It's probably we're talking about a human. It gets stuck for 9 months in the womb of the mother. So that is a state where it's very difficult for you to kind of rip yourself open and come out of those kind of a bondage that you create for yourself. Did you understand this? Can anybody wants to give an example of how you want to describe this these three states? Anybody wants to give a try? Okay, let's do this. Okay, you are a student. Okay, and you have missed a few classes. Maybe say you missed 3 classes. It is like fire over, so it's like smoke over fire. It is okay. You'll pick it up easily. Maybe weekend you sit, you will study. It's very easy. Let's say that you kind of missed a term test. That is like dust on the mirror. That's also easy. Maybe one term you can pick it up in the next term. But say you completely neglected the whole year. To kind of redeem yourself from that kind of a situation is absolutely very, very tough. And that is what leads to anxiety, stress, and all kinds of miseries. Do you agree?
Yes, Mataji.
Similarly, an intoxication. Say you took one puff from a friend. A friend was puffing and you took a puff from him. And hopefully you disliked it. So it is easy. It is like smoke over fire. You will not indulge in it again. You'll think, oh my God, why did I do it? It's not something that's good for me. Immediately your intellect works because you're someone who works. Your intellect is not very bad. Intellect is pretty steady. It was just but that moment of weakness which made you do what you do, and you'll never touch it again. But suppose say you're someone who are like the social. People say, oh, I'm a social smoker. I'm a social drinker. For them to come out of that, to kind of give up that social status, it takes some time. That is like dust on the mirror. The third type is embryo in the womb. Someone who's got completely, they can't live without it. For them to come out of it, they need a lot of help. In fact, Prabhupada says they're in a hopeless situation. They're almost in an impossible situation. It's a very hopeless case. So we should never, ever get to that state. We are completely in a state where it is very difficult for anybody to support us or help us, or it becomes very difficult for ourselves to help ourselves. Okay. So therefore, the Lord says, as the fire is covered by the smoke, as mirror is covered by the dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of lust. The lust varies. So we must always be cautious. Therefore, as I said, constantly keep doing self-introspection, self-inquiry. That will help you to revive and rebalance. Reviving ourselves and rebalancing ourselves is an everyday activity. We should indulge in it every day. Meditate upon yourself every day on all your actions. And the reactions of those actions also matter a lot. Thus, a man's pure consciousness is covered by his eternal enemy, and that eternal enemy is lust, which is never satisfied, which burns like fire and completely burns you to ashes. Never, ever allow your desires to grow to such an extent that it kills you. Therefore, Arjuna, O best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning curb this great symbol of sin by regulating the senses and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. Okay. So, lust is at the bodily platform. Overcome the lust at the bodily platform, and as you grow into your adulthood, when you're engaged in your activities, ensure that the desires that associates itself with all those activities that you do when you are in a situation, when you're working, when you're on the grihastha, ensure that it doesn't affect you, because that will then help you to kind of keep your mind in control. Ensure that your mind is controlling your bodily activities. Ensure your mind is controlling all your sensual activities. And the next is intellect. And when your mind is in a good state, your intellect will be able to work well. And when you are in an intellectual platform, when you're in the steady state of mind, it'll be easy for you to jump into the spiritual platform. Okay. You may ask, how do I get? Can you straight away get from the bodily platform to the spiritual platform? No, you may not. Maybe some people are lucky and some people are highly elevated. They may be able to do, but it's not something that all of us can do. So step by step, watch your actions, watch your desires, keep a watch on the distractions that you constantly is welcoming you. Ensure that you are staying away from all those distractions which look nice in the beginning, but actually turn out to be poison, and that poison will kill you finally. We don't want to do that, right? We want liberation, right? Indriyani parani ahur indriyebhya param manah manasastu para buddher yo buddheha paratastu saha. What does it mean? Can somebody read this? Hare Krishna.
The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And the soul, is ever higher than the intelligence.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. The working senses are superior. See, what is dull matter? Table, chair, things like, our dresses and all are dull matter. Okay. The working senses are the 5 senses. Can somebody tell me what are the working senses? What are our senses? How do we perceive things? How do we perceive things? By touch, by taste, by sight, by smell, and by hearing. These are our working senses. These senses are definitely, we get swayed by dull matter. What is dull matter? Intoxicants are dull matter. All kinds of, desires for dresses, for homes, for cars, for that. And these are dull matter. We are much about that. Our working senses are superior to that. So use them for better things. And mind is even better than the senses, because a mind is someone who can, store your experiences. It can store emotion, use the emotions for the right reasons. And still better is the intelligence. Okay. And higher than the intelligence is your soul, because your soul carries all the vasanas of the intelligence, of your intellect and the mind. See, intelligence and mind, intellect and mind are called subtle bodies. The gross body is what we can feel. It is the gross body. When we depart from this body, the soul carries the intellect and the mind with it. And that's how we carry all the vasanas from the various births that we have been through. Okay, so therefore, we have to ensure that we cleanse all the vasanas, the past vasanas, and create good vasanas, so that at least in the next birth, before we get our final liberation, we carry less and less baggage and become better and better. Okay, our aim is to climb higher, not to slip down. Our aim is to climb higher, not to slide down. So our body is like a chariot. If you look at a chariot that is driven by the horses are compared to the senses. The reins are the mind. So the mind has to keep the senses in control. And better than the mind is the intelligence. If the intelligence is strong, mind and senses will automatically be in control. When the intelligence is absolutely in control, the self, that is the soul, is in a happy state. The soul is, the 2 wheels that you see are satisfaction and contentment. When the intelligence is in the state, when you are in the Sthita Prajna state, your soul is happy and your soul is satisfied and absolutely in a state for bliss. Okay. So thus we end this chapter. So we saw the difference between renunciation and action. And we also saw what is Nishkama Karma. And then we also talked about Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga, which is not just being ritualistic alone will not do. We have to also do our activities, and we need to lead by example. And we saw 2 examples, the examples of Janaka and examples of the Lord himself. And the greatest enemy in our life is our desire or attachment. Okay. So with this, we end this chapter. Hare Krishna. I know I over jumped the time. Sorry about that. Does anyone have any question?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, will you please once again explain me the slide number 33, the chart?
Okay. I will hold you for a bit. If anyone else has any questions?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Mataji, in that particular slide, I don't know the numbers of slide, but in which I answered that attachment is the
okay.
from where all these distractions begin.
Okay.
So in that particular slide, Mataji, is there any reason why anger, ignorance, and lust are aligned like on the same row, on the same that plane?
No, I think.
Is there any reason
Okay,
behind?
1 minute, 1 minute. I'll just go to that. Anger is here. Pride is there. False prestige. See, when you are attached to something, if you get it, you get that sense of ahankar, pride, right? And that pride is false because it is not you who has done it. You have done it because the energetic has given you the energy to accomplish. You're not the doer. And therefore it's false prestige. It's ego. Now, when the ego is used to getting that kind of, is used to getting all its desires fulfilled, it's in a happy state. The moment it does not achieve what it wants to achieve, it completely, krodha develops, anger comes. What the hell? I am powerful. I know what I am doing. I am the best. How is it that I have been relegated to a second position? You kind of see the wars that happen in the political circles. I am the one who brought this party to power. I am the one who kind of built this party. And now you guys are relegating me to a lower position. How dare you do it? Anger. What does anger mean? Anger is out of ignorance. What are you angry about? You're not responsible either for the things that you got, and neither are you responsible for the things that you didn't get. What does it mean? That is absolutely in the plane of ignorance. It is ignorance which is giving you the pride. It is also because of ignorance, you also turn angry. And it's ignorance which also is driving you to create those desires in yourself. You got the point?
Yes, Mataji.
And when you don't see your desires getting into a state that you want it to get into, you start getting envious. You start getting jealous. Anger, lust, and prestige, and when I say prestige, ego, leads to envy. Anyone who has who has that ahankar, they are envious of everybody else. A person who's always used to getting the number one position, if for some strange reason he's not able to get that number position, he starts envying the other person. Okay, slide number 33, Mataji. Was this a slide, Mataji? This slide?
Yes, the chart one, Mataji.
What do you want in this chart, Mataji?
The last point about after sensual platform. I missed that one.
Yeah. See, the thing is, you know what? The first is the bodily platform. All of us, we have to ensure that when we get certain facilities that we get, we need to be very, very cautious about it, because, we shouldn't get over, you shouldn't crave for more than what is needed. That is simple living. Don't crave for more than what you need. The moment your desires are more than what you need, it leads you to, it keeps you on the bodily platform. So rise above that. So once you rise above that, you get into a thing of, you will have a lot of things that will attract you towards a lot of things which will actually, probably be very, very nice in the beginning, but actually will make you highly addicted after that. So you need to keep a watch on that. When you are content at the bodily level, when you're also content with all the achievements that you have, you will also be at peace at the mental platform. Your emotions and experiences you will cherish, because your experiences and emotions will make you to do things better, and also to be wary of things that has actually not helped you well in the past. Okay, because experiences are all about things that will help you to be better, right? You will not, suppose say you have done something which has actually brought you which has not fetched you good results, you will not do it again. Suppose say I have gone and invested money in a certain place. If that money has gone bankrupt, I will not do that. That's an experience, right? I will not do that act again. Or say I go and shop for a certain dress in one shop, and if that experience of mine in that shop has not been good, I will not do it again. So that is the mind. So mind helps you to kind of stay on course so that you are not wavering. The next thing is intellect. Intellect is which helps you to make clear demarcation on the right and the wrong. It helps you to make a decision by looking at the pros and cons, by looking at the strengths and the weaknesses, by looking at what is best for you in a given situation, or what is best for you not only in the present but also in the future. Because what you do today should not come to bite you tomorrow, right? That is the intellectual platform. Once you are in the intellectual platform, jumping onto the spiritual platform is easy. Because your intellect is, see, whatever we can absorb happens at the intellectual level. So it's the intellect which helps you to grasp things and also helps you to live those things, right? So spirituality is not just about jnana. It's not just about knowledge that you get from that. It is also about how you live the knowledge that you gather. Okay.
Thank you, Mataji.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Any other question? One Prabhuji is saying, what is he saying? Hare Krishna Mataji, we must perform our duties without expecting what the results would be. But in the course of action, we tend to get frustrated, anxious, apprehensive because you think you are the doer. When you think you are the doer, you get anxious. When you say, Lord, I am discharging the duties that I have to discharge based on your mercy. Leave it to him. Try it, Varneshwaranji. Please try it. You need to try it too. Hey, you know how the world reeled under COVID, right? We all know how much COVID has affected each one of us personally. But let me tell you, it also affected me in a big way as well. But from the time I started, living my life, or at least started absorbing, the Bhagavad Gita in my life, I am at peace. It's not that my troubles have gone away. My troubles are all there. Everybody is sitting there. But I'm not bothered now. It doesn't worry me. I'm only thinking, how do I solve it? How do I find a way to come out of these problems of mine? So try it, Varuneshwarji. You said, for example, if I'm a student, I'm preparing for exams seriously, I tend to get anxious about the results. Why? Do your best. Do what you can. And don't compare yourself with others. Is that in your... See, the outcome of the result, is it in your hands? Can you control the outcome of the result? Varuneshwarji, can you answer me? Hare Krishna. Varuneshwarji, you're not answering. See, when the outcome is not in your hand, what's the use of worry? If the outcome is in your hand, definitely, get worried about it. Or rather, you should not be worried about it. The outcome is in your hand, you know how to do it. Why should you be worried? When the outcome is not in your hand, don't worry. If the outcome is in your hand, why worry? Are you with me? Hare Krishna.
Absolutely, Mataji, right.
So do your best. Don't give excuses. Don't say, oh, there was this match on that day and I had to watch the match and therefore, I couldn't study. No, you have to be disciplined. You make sure you're disciplined. Make up a proper, a timetable. Follow the timetable. Ensure you're giving your body the rest that it needs. Ensure you're eating the right diet. All that matters. Yeah. Ensure you keep it. I have a nephew. For him, his life starts only at 10 o'clock. He has so much to study. And he goes out at 10 o'clock, comes back late, by around 11:30, 12. And then he comes home and watches some, he's into big time into all these football matches and stuff like which may always happen late in the night, right? Watches that, sleeps, gets up in the morning in the, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. See, the early morning is the best time to grasp. They say the Brahma Muhurtam. Brahma Muhurtam did come just like that. It is absolutely a time where everything is at peace. When your energy levels are at the peak. When the environment is completely conducive for you to do your actions. So ensure you have your quality sleep. Ensure you're eating quality food, not excess food. Just the amount of food that your body needs at that time, but the right kind of food. Keep a timetable. Follow the timetable. That is what is in your control. Do all that. Fine. You have done everything, but you did not get the rank that you aspired for. Don't worry about that. Maybe it was not meant to be. There are two ways of doing it. Accept what it is and go ahead doing whatever course comes with it. Or the other way is when some people reattempt again. But it's up to you, what you choose to. It's a decision that you have to make. Use your intelligence. You see, okay, fine. Is this something that I want to do? What are the pros and cons of redoing it? What are the pros and cons of doing what comes to me? And then doing something better than that. Learning. Because every experience teaches us something. From experience is where we improve. So you need to look at an experience as a learning platform. You need to look at experience as something that will help you to improve yourself. Don't look at an experience as a setback. Look at the experience as something that will help you. It's like an accelerator. Good and bad experiences are accelerators for us to move ahead. If the experience is bad, don't despair. It has a learning. There is a learning for you. Take the learning and improve upon it. Hare Krishna, anything else? Anybody else? Any other question?
Hare Krishna Mataji, like Mataji, when we try to learn or study something, right? So like who is coming into action, the mind or the intelligence, and like where is it getting stored? Like, in case of like when we want to remember also.
Remembrance is again, see, the mind is a post office. Okay. The mind predominantly captures things and it stores it. It basically just segregates. It's like a post office. What happens? All the letters come, right? So the mind also takes everything from all the senses and it segregates good, bad, and so you need the mind and you need the intellect for studies. If you look at from a study point of view, you need the mind, because the mind should tell you, yes, you as a student, I'm sure all of you will be referring to a lot of these old question papers and stuff like that. And you also make your own analysis of, okay, this is how the question pattern has been and this is how it will be. So that the mind will help you to do. So you need the mind. Mind is very important. And intellect is what will help you to kind of grasp what is there. What you're studying, grasping it, and doing, focusing in the right areas, that the intellect will. Mind will help you to kind of gather everything. Okay, what we typically do as students, at least I used to do that. I used to get as many books. I get all my reference books. I'll get all my textbooks. I will get all these past question papers. I will talk to people. All that is the mind will do all that. That's the mind does. And then I will make my own thing. Okay, this is what, that is. The intellect will tell you, hey, Janaki, you know what? You are weak in maths. So therefore, and maths is an important subject. And when you did all your previous questions, when you do all your previous test papers, this is how you've been. You've not been able to keep up your time. For example, today in the class, I'm not kept the time. I'm supposed to finish it half an hour earlier. I've extended it, right? So now what will the intellect will tell me, Janaki, you have not done it well. So you need to do a better homework. So focus on maths. And maybe if you're putting 2 hours for other subjects, give an extra hour for mathematics. And what is the best time? When is your energy at its peak? Do mathematics at that time. So you need the intellect. So both mind and intellect, both are required, for us to, for studies, and also for our ability to kind of seek knowledge and store the knowledge. Both mind and all your body also needs to be supportive. Your body needs to be in good form. You cannot, mismanage your diet, and you cannot mismanage the needs of your body. The needs of body needs rest. I always tell all students, ensure your body needs rest, and also ensure that you're also keeping a small window, to pursue a hobby. If you are someone interested in football, go play for 1 hour and come back, because your mind needs a little bit of a diversity. Okay, but don't overdo anything. Do things where you need to focus more. Hare Krishna. Any other question?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Happy Guru Purnima Mataji, first of all.
Thank you so much.
And thanks a lot, Mataji, for giving such great, good lectures. And it's been 3 days only, and now I'm feeling like as if I'm rejuvenated totally. So thanks a lot, Mataji. I'm very grateful to have you. Thanks a lot.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So yeah, Bhagavad Gita, it's the Bhagavad Gita. I don't think it's about me. It's about Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is such, it is so endearing. It is so powerful that even a person who doesn't think will start thinking after reading the book. And especially Prabhupada has written it in such a simple way for normal people like us. If some see we're all so, at least me, I've been so engaged in in so much of my professional career and stuff like that. For me, it has helped me to come out of of all those the various kind of my own desires I was covered with. Now I am like at peace with myself. With this, it gives you peace, and trust me, there cannot be a better guide than the Bhagavad Gita in our lives. The Bhagavad Gita is the best guide. It is our parent, it is our guide, it is our teacher, it is our guru, it is everything. And the Lord himself is the one who is giving us this jnana. What more can we ask for, isn't it? So, Hare Krishna to everyone.
Right,
thank you so much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhobhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So tomorrow we shall meet for chapter 4. Okay, and it's again a very, very interesting chapter. This chapter is all about where the Lord is going to tell us how this knowledge he shared. When was the first time he shared this knowledge? It's called the yoga of transcendental knowledge. Okay, so it's another interesting chapter. He already gave us a hint. He says, look, I am the creator. In 3.22 he said that if I stop working, the cosmos will stop, right? So tomorrow we will read more about the Lord himself and how he kind of transferred this knowledge from himself in the Guru Parampara. Okay, Hare Krishna, take care.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
And
Hare Krishna.